Hi, I'm Peter Brusso for 101 Small Business Mastermind, and with us today we have our standard cadre. Say good morning, Dick.
Good morning, Dick.
And say good morning, Frank.
Good morning, Dick.
All righty. You guys are doing good today, right?
Yep.
Well, I am going to start down my list of things here. We'll have quite the exciting show, I believe. Okay. Tell me when you got my screen.
Got it.
All right. So my update here is I finally did finish the my website building out, and Dick was very kind to go and look at everything, and so was Frank, and fix some cool stuff here. And she's up and running, and I added some really cool things, one of which is a Defender map, which is neat to be able to tell your clients where you've actually sold Defenders and what country, you know. And so that's kind of a fun thing. And then we did a Where in the World. We've got a really cool Where in the World thing underway here. And so I did a slideshow about where they are in the world. There's a Berlin Wall, obviously, and somewhere on the East Coast. So people will send in their pictures of the Defenders. It doesn't have to be with their face either. And get a chance to see where they all are. It's kind of cool. And Frank found 2 duplicates, and I fixed those, Frank, I think. We'll see here in a minute.
Okay, good.
And it's always good to have another set of eyes looking at stuff. And I really pushed the heck out of this template. There's an ugly guy. And and of course, now that's the icon that I like. You can see that's Sydney. And so we're going to try to get more iconic pictures in the mix here, Vienna and whatnot. So that's kind of fun. The other thing that I did, which I really like, and Dick, you might like this too, is so I added product categories. When you tag things, you could do it with posts as well. So if I wanted to find out all the aggressive weapons, you just click here, and it will take you right to the shopping cart and show you the aggressive ones. How cool is that, Dick? Dick, you there? I'm not hearing him. Frank?
He's muted.
Oh, okay. All right. So anyway, that's pretty cool. That's a really nice thing to look at. And now let me see, what else do I want to do with that? Where in the world? Okay, so let me do some updates. I can move that story to the back. I'm going to do my Indian drug update and make a note here. So the next thing I want to show is this. And here's a drone killer.
Drones all over the world are trying to be regulated by authorities, but the Dutch National Police have found a unique way to take the flying device down.
What do you think of that?
They have trained eagles to take down drones. The Dutch police partnered with a Raptor training company who trained them to capture drones in the same way that the bird reacts to prey. After grabbing the drone, the eagles find a safe area to land with the device. The organization would like to utilize the eagles in areas where drone flying is prohibited. Be sure to watch Inside Edition.
That's kind of cool, huh?
Wow.
Yeah, it is.
I wonder why the propellers don't hurt the eagle's legs.
They talked about that. They talked about making some leggings for them for the protection, particularly on the larger drones. Now, so this has become the drone show. But here you go. Check this.
CES 2016 is brought to you by Mastrop. Our first top 5 drone of CES is the EHang 184 autonomous aerial vehicle. I mean, holy crap. The thing can actually fit a passenger inside. It flies way higher than your average consumer drone, but much lower than a jetliner at about 11,000 feet and can go 60 miles per hour for about 23 minutes. You don't need any previous flying experience. You just tell it to take off or land through a mobile app, and a computer takes care of the rest. Like a commercial airplane, it has redundancies built in, such as multiple power delivery systems and an auto-land feature if something goes wrong, and encryption is built into the flight system to keep attackers from sabotaging your flight path. It's connected to an EHang command center that monitors every 184 drone in flight, kind of like air traffic control, and right now, the biggest hurdle is approval from authorities like the FAA, but EHang says it's working with government agencies to get this thing off the ground, so to speak. It'll cost probably somewhere between $200,000 and $300,000, so you can choose between this thing, a house, or going to medical school. The Parrot Disco is not a quadcopter. It's got a sleek aesthetic and looks like an airplane with wings. It's powered by a propeller, and this, combined with the wings, uses less energy than trying to power up a bunch of spinning blades. It adds up to 45 minutes of total flight time, and it is pretty darn fast, capable of 50-mile-per-hour flight. It features automatic takeoff. You just throw it and it starts flying, meaning that there's no real learning curve, and piloting is just a matter of telling it where you want it to go or turn to. Adjustments to make the thing stay airborne are handled automatically, and it's expected to be available later this year. Our third drone continues our trend of getting smaller and smaller with the PowerUp FPV. This is another winged design drone, except that it's essentially a paper airplane that you can fly, and we actually have covered PowerUp's previous product before for more than 5 seconds and see where it's going. It only weighs 2 ounces and is made from thick paper and powered by a pair of propellers. You do have to fold it yourself, which is either a pain or fun for the DIY included folks, and it comes with a head-mounted display thing to turn piloting into a VR experience simply by sliding in your smartphone. It's got an autopilot feature to keep the plane in the air and can go up to 20 miles per hour with 10 hours of battery life.
That's crazy.
PowerUp is offering a racing package that comes with 6 drones and head-mounted displays for $1,000, or you can get just one for $180. It's expected to be available in June. The unique Typhoon H was featured by Intel at CES. Why? Because it has an Intel RealSense camera. So Intel has been pushing RealSense pretty heavily in laptops and other devices. Now it's in a drone. The RealSense cameras are completely separate from the main camera, which shoots 4K video by the way, and allows the Typhoon to avoid objects and obstacles automatically without any input from the user. Unique and Intel are touting this as being more accurate than other forms of collision detection that we've already seen in drones. The only issue is that at $17.99 for the base model, it's not exactly cheap, and the version with RealSense collision avoidance will cost more. Finally, we've got the Fly, one of the strangest looking drones at the show, as it looks like a floating white sphere or ball. Why? Well, the moving parts are all enclosed in a plastic ball for safety, for indoor use being the main focus. It's very light as well, only 1 pound, though it does look heavier, making it good for kids or someone who just doesn't want to worry too much about damaging their stuff in the event of a collision.
That would be a great thing for, if you had a warehouse or something like that for your business, zipping up and down the aisles, showing what you're capable of doing. That's good idea.
It only features 10 minutes of flight time, but it's surprisingly nimble given the shape, as long as you're willing to pay $1,200 for it. This drone video was brought...
How crazy is that, guys?
Yeah, it really is.
Wow.
That's-
You mentioned warehouse, and I wish I'd read the article. I don't know where I was. I just could see the headline. And everybody's building warehouses, mainly Amazon, using robots instead of people.
Right.
And it cut the expenses by 80%.
Yeah, I was talking with my son-in-law yesterday. There was a challenge put out by apple pickers that they would always have to pick apples by hand. And we got talking. He's kind of a technical guy like myself, so we got talking about how we could probably figure out how to pick apples.
Yeah.
With a scanner, laser thing, grab it, check it for bruises, cut it off, bring it out, and they work 24/7. There's no time
Yes,
off.
they do.
Yes, they do. So, these types of drones can certainly outproduce humans and free us up to do other things anyway, So that's...
Yeah, I think, I'm sorry for my gravelly voice here today. I think, like everything else in the early stages, like the battery life on that one that you last showed, the 10 minutes. They've obviously got to improve the battery life of these things to
Oh,
make
sure.
them more effective, and you can see where they go. But you talk about warehouses, Franklin, as at Marshall, we totally automated our warehouse in 1995. Where the robot arms go down, put stock away, pick it up, and the cost savings were in human hours was amazing. But in inventory shrinkage and inventory accuracy and taking inventory, the cost savings were unbelievably high. It's just great stuff.
Yeah.
So that was in 1995. I can't imagine what they have now in that area. So
Yeah. That was 21 years ago. Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, I was also reading about in Japan they're raising lettuce and they're picking it with robots, and they're raising the lettuce in pans indoors, stacked one on top of the other for light and water systems, and then the robots just go up and down and pick the lettuce. And the day is coming when agriculture will be done like that. So, all right. My next, I should tell you about our radish picking machine and carrots, but that's another story. So let's go to my next story, which is right here. Coding boot camps. Okay. There are all of these startups that high school kids and college kids can go and they learn how to code and build apps. And they're so competitive now that there's a $3,000 prep program that you go to first before you try to get on in your coding. So you think this is going someplace, guys? Boy, I sure do. When you have to have a prep camp to get you into a coding academy. That's crazy. Okay.
Well, it just listening to the robot discussion and all, and now this prep camp to get into coding academy. The American worker is on the low end is going to get squeezed out. In the middle, non-skilled is going to get squeezed out, and it's really something that I think the unions of the country had better start focusing on. How are they going to prepare their members for the next decade or so, because the amount of jobs that are going to be out there is going to shrink dramatically because of this, and there's going to be a lot of people forced out into the workforce, or maybe like with people you're working with, Frank, or I'm doing, looking for home-based jobs.
Yeah.
It's changing rapidly, and just
Matter of fact, you're absolutely right. As a matter of fact, on the backside, my A block here, it's an eye opener. You're going right down that path.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, not knowing if you're going to go there, I talked about the workers. I think it was Seattle had this big push for $15 minimum wage.
Mm-hmm.
It was voted in.
Yeah.
All the companies had to do it, including McDonald's.
Right.
And within, I would say, less than a month, they got their raise and they were replaced by kiosks
Right.
to take in orders at the counter.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I came back from my ill-fated trip, by the way, I got my results from the letter. I didn't get any cash back, but my wife and I both got 20,000 miles added to our Advantage accounts each. So
Okay.
that's almost a free trip. So
There you go. Okay.
yeah,
That's
so
fair.
my Legal Shield thing paid off.
Yeah.
But when I came back in Phoenix, they had the big line, and they had maybe 3 or 4 human beings and about 12 kiosks. And I went over to the kiosk, punched in. I got this guy face probably sitting some centralized. They did my whole thing through the kiosk
Where was this?
in Phoenix Airport at the Hertz Rental.
So you rented your car without meeting face to face with a person?
Absolutely.
Really?
Came up, a little screen, like iPad screen on it. He came up. How are you doing, Mr. Bentley? We talked very personal, and boom,
Wow.
yeah.
And so you did you have to slide your license into something or your credit card? For them to-
I had to hold my license up to the screen.
Okay.
The credit card I slid into the reader.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's matter of fact. I'll I'll,
Oh,
I'll,
and those Hertz,
Yeah.
the biggest. They used to be the biggest, I guess.
Yeah.
Holy cow!
let me share my next piece here, which goes right down that same line. So now you can get a notary
Oh, jeez.
on demand. So this guy here, he actually sold off a tech company. He started alcohol delivery, Boston based. Okay. And it was purchased, obviously you had to make sure that the drivers were 21 years old. The people were getting there 21 years old, via video links and stuff like that. Sold out, and took a look at where else he might be able to utilize this thing. And it came up that they're in Virginia. You can use videos and iPhones, things like that, for notary republics. And so he started and tracked down the whole idea, and he started up. So now where we used to have to get, if you had something to be notarized, you had to find somebody. Well, in Frank's case, of course, AAA does it and stuff like that, in my case too. And but it's, $10 and a travel into town and all that other tomfoolery. Not with this. You log on, you talk to somebody just like you did, Dick, who in fact wants to see your credentials, your driver's license, or something from the government, and then the document, you show them the document, and somehow or another they capture that, and you pay them $25. They put a seal on it, and they email it back to you, and you print it out. Done. Notary. Times are changing, guys. You know that?
The times they are a-changing. Bob Dylan sang that in '66. Boy, was he right.
They really are. And I guess when we get to the end, we talk about it. I have some more thoughts on it, but we'll wait till you get to the end.
Yeah, we'll get to this one part. And between now, food delivery, alcohol delivery, gas delivery, you won't have to leave your house. So, all right. Here's my next one I want to talk about. This is really a cool app that I found, and let me share my screen here. And something we ought to have on all of our phones. It's a parcel track, so you can log in and see with your phone where your packages are, which brings up the whole talk about, well, it's UPS, FedEx, and it carries over 70 different couriers. So, wow, what a great track this thing is, So if you're, ordering stuff, and you can track it from your smartphone. How cool is that?
That is the Uber for tracking, isn't it? You can see
Yes,
where
it
your package is as it goes around the world.
Yep, like, see, here's a Samsung's Galaxy 6 printout. That's what I have. Your parcel is waiting at home, left in the shed or outbuilding. I mean, wow, huh? How crazy is that? So there, I wanted to, they talk about the Weather Channel too quite a bit. These are different apps that we ought to be having on our phones and whatnot. I'm not prepared to talk about any other ones per se, but the next thing, which blew my mind, was this one. And first you look at it, these are active listening earbuds. So what the heck is that? Well, with this app connected to your cell phone, you can actually filter out the sounds you don't want to hear. Like if you're in a crowd or you're shopping mall or something, you can hear people talking nearby, but everything else is quiet. And so it's really, it's for your ears what VR does for your eyes. Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
And so it's really, I mean, I guess it would work for wives too. I don't know, but you can tune out a certain frequency. But
Spoken like a man who's single.
I know it. And in my case, where I have high frequency hearing loss, I might be able to boost those frequencies up for me to hear better, so instead of always having the difficulty listening to a woman's voice, I can boost it up so I can actually carry on a conversation. So I'm going to keep a track on these things. They're pretty cool.
Yeah, they are.
Now, here's the scary one I came across too. This affects all of us, assuming that this will load here. Police data. Now, police with their GoPros, you know, or whatever video that they have on their chest, it can look out, and with facial recognition, it can see who's out there, and it immediately sends that back to the home base, and they can peruse through a database, automatically says you might be a crook or your tendency to steal is there, and then the police person would actually see on another handheld device, I guess, red circles around potential crooks. Can you believe that?
Is that called profiling?
Yes, it is. And they talk about it right here. There's a profile that they're profiling, but they're saying they're really not. What they're doing is they've got a database on every person, or they search it, and comes up with threat scores based on your online data. Now, how scary is that?
There's a TV show that I watch. It's off now. I don't know why it's off. Maybe it got canceled. Called Person of Interest, starring
Yes.
Jim Caviezel.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they had a machine that would do this. That would circle people and track them around. Anyway, yeah, okay.
Well, the city of Fresno, California is using it, and also apparently Chicago, and essential suspects for crimes not yet committed.
Well, sure not working in Chicago.
Sure.
Yeah, no, maybe they should concentrate on more on the crimes that are being committed.
That's right. Had a record amount of deaths there last month. So.
Yes, just crazy.
Yeah.
So this is 1984 coming to a town near you, you know?
Yeah, it really is.
They even talked about identifying veterans that have PTSD as potential crooks and offenders. So I don't, and all of a sudden the cops would come up and watch you or introduce themselves, and you know, I don't know, but this is getting crazy scary on this.
That just seems like it's in the court of law would be thrown out. You can't do that.
But it's called data-driven policing, and apparently that's okay. It's not profiling; it's data-driven.
Well.
So anyway,
that's kind of like the Bill Clinton. It depends what the definition of is, you know.
yes.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Is the definition of is. That whole thing is scary on its own.
Yeah.
Right. Well, okay. Next one I want to share. This is where we're going to have lots of discussion, I'm sure, Dick. And so let me get over here. And Yahoo announced yesterday, I guess it was, that in fact they're laying off 15% of their workforce, or 1,600 positions.
Yeah, I read that.
Wow. And so, again, is it nice to have a home-based business?
Yeah.
And then the U.S.-wide layoffs are, in January, they're planning to have 75,000 cuts. You know, and this is looking, and this is of course when the White House says we have a 5% unemployment. Look at where we're headed.
Right.
Retailers. With that many layoffs, our unemployment will go from 5% to 4.2.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. You're probably right.
Yeah.
Here, retailers, 22,000. Walmart to close 269 stores, let go 16,000 workers. Macy's. Now, this is interesting. Macy's is going to lay off 4,820 employees,
Right.
but a lot of this stuff is because people are buying on the web and not going into brick and mortar,
Right.
which goes back to me hailing that, in fact, your digital properties are now becoming more important than your brick and mortar. And this is just, it spells it right out here, you know? And of course,
And yet,
people don't pay any attention to it.
and yet Amazon, which killed Borders and is killing Barnes & Noble, is opening up 300 bookstores.
Yes.
Which makes no sense to me.
I don't, you know, I'm not going to question Jeff Bezos's acumen, because obviously he's very, very smart. I don't know why the heck he's doing that.
Well, there was always a charm to actually picking a book up and looking at it, and then having coffee and sitting there and reading a little bit, and you get exposed to stuff you wouldn't normally see on the web even.
Yeah, but you just said a few minutes ago, there's no need to leave your house.
Right?
Well, I think the trend is,
The trend is taking it away. And the other part of it is Amazon for all the success, is marginally profitable. Now, that investment to open 300 stores, or even if they take over existing Barnes & Noble or whatever, that's a huge, huge overhead that they put in place. I agree with you. I am not smart enough to question Jeff Bezos, but I can, from my limited abilities, question why, because it makes no sense from outside looking in. It makes no sense to me. I read that and I shook my head.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
So let's use this time, Dick, to talk about Legal Shield, shall we? Home-based business. I mean, look at all these layoffs. Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing. Legal Shield just closed out their calendar fiscal quarter, and records everywhere. The amount of people that are being protected by it now is up to, I don't know, like 1.6 million families. The amount of people starting the home-based businesses is at record highs. And I think it's a direct result of what's going on, what you just said, Peter. When you sit back and listen what you're talking about, you can see the potential disaster down the road, and that's not maybe 5 years down the road, if that. Where old guys like myself, it's not going to affect, because I won't be around long enough to have it affect me. But people in their 60s, that are trying to make it through and retirement and all, they're going to be impacted because they won't be able to work as long, because they're going to be the first ones going to be laid off as people automate. The millenniums are really setting. When you look at the advertisements and ratings on TV shows, they always talk about the 18 to 35-year-old category. Those are the people that are driving where the world's going from a commerce point of view. And they're driving it exactly to what you said. They don't own TVs anymore. They don't own cars anymore. They rely on all these digital services to make their life easier. And they're not in the I need a big house, or not in I need a big car, and I don't need a TV world. They're into the digital world, and then you can see by what you're saying that they're just driving people more and more into that. So people in their 40s and 50s really have got to figure out how they're going to survive, in this world, because you read the amount of jobs that are going. I'm going to talk a little bit about it in my blog, but I just think the world is changing, and it has been changing. But in reading the business papers and listening to the things you guys are saying, it's changing fast. And I'm, from a political point of view, I don't want to talk political things, but our next president, it better be pretty savvy on what's going on in this digital world to start helping prepare the right programs for the people going forward, because unions aren't doing it. Unions just, I want $15 an hour, and I don't care that people are going to lose their jobs, or there'll be less jobs. They just want that. They've been that for years, and that's why they're losing their effectiveness. So I just think it's a truly troubling times going forward. I think from people that are just beyond the millennium age into their 60s and 70s, because it's going to be tough. I think it'll be tough. And home-based businesses are becoming more and more popular. Frank, I'm sure you've seen it with the work you're doing, and I think it's a great opportunity for someone like myself to get the word out. So I'm scared for the future for a lot of people, but I'm optimistic about what I can do over the next year or two. So yeah.
All right. Well, I'm done on my block, and I think.
Hey, there's that sound. That sound says it's time for Twin This Week in the News. Small business lessons we get from newsmakers. And this week's Twin is, hey, Lucille Green, thank you for the small business lesson.
Who the heck is Lucille Green?
Now, remember you and I were talking, I said, you got to be unpredictable?
Oh, well.
Okay. Who the heck is, no,
Who's Mrs. Green?
Who's Lucille Green? I'm glad. Lucille lives in Chicago area, and she used to work for a headhunting firm, which is just interesting knowledge. Quite a few years ago, Lucille's parents moved to live in Fort Myers, Florida, and she was in Chicago, I guess to get out of the cold. Well, as they get older, as parents want to do, because the alternative really is not very attractive, Lucille would fly back and forth continuously to visit and help take care of them. But she was constantly looking for someone to help so that she didn't have to travel so much. But you know what? These were her parents, and she could never find anyone she was comfortable with to take care of her parents. There's just that she just didn't find anybody. And when she would return home from visiting her parents in Fort Myers, she was always complaining to her husband and her friends about how difficult it was to find someone she trusted enough to care for her most precious things, which were her parents. And that went on for years, but then Lucille's life took a turn. She called it a pause. I called it a turn. When her husband died of cancer. And as Lucille says, he was such a big part of my life. I just didn't know what to do. I floundered, and I had no idea what to do next in my life. I know that I wasn't ready to stop doing something. It was then that one of her friends, who kept hearing about Lucille complain, and reminded Lucille about the difficulty she had in finding someone she trusted to care for her parents. So this friend suggested, hey, Lucille, why don't you buy a franchise? It's called Visiting Angels franchise, and I know them. I know of them.
I know of them too.
Yeah, they provide home care workers to care for people who have trouble caring for themselves. Now, a little side note. I spent quite a few years working in the senior care market. And the one thing you could always count on was that as a senior got older, every one of them wanted to live in the exact same place, their home. None of them wanted to live their home. So Lucille took her friend's advice, and at the age of 71, Lucille became the system's oldest franchisee. At the age of 71, she started her own business. And Lucille, she talks about it. She describes, here's what birth certificates are. She says, she calls them those little pieces of paper that are required to do almost anything in America, she says. And while they tell you how old you are and where you were born, they say nothing about the spirit you have that defy your age. And Lucille is one of those defiant ones. And I just love that statement about her. So Lucy started running her business by herself, and she ran it out of her little townhome, out of her living room. And as she recalls, she says, you know what? It was really, really dismal at first. She said, aside from the franchisee, which I don't think supported very well, she says, I had nobody to bounce anything off of and nobody to ask questions of. And at 71. And then she decided she had to interview these home caregivers. And she says, I don't feel safe bringing strangers into my living room for caregiver interviews. So she went and rented a tiny little office space within an office space, if you will. And she was able to go out from there. And then Lucille remembers that she was afraid to let her clients or prospects know how old she was because they think she'd be too old to service them. But then she realized that it was because of her age, which were now in her 70s, that she could relate to her senior clients better than anyone else because she understood how they felt about life and how they felt about the prospect of dying. So Lucille has been able to grow her business and increase the visibility of her company by joining networking organizations. She goes to chamber meetings. She joins meetup groups. She does, whenever there's a networking organization, Lucille is there, and she grew her business. So how is Lucille's Visiting Angels franchise doing? Well, as of the last time I was able to catch on a report, she was providing home caregivers to 81 elderly clients.
Wow.
So she has a pretty good business. And oh, by the way, that was 11 years ago. Lucille is now 82 years old. She is now legally blind, but she still goes to her office 3 days per week. to manage her business. Not bad for a widow who started her first business, her very first business, at the age of 71. I love the story about Lucille Green. 2 small business lessons. Matter of fact, I'm going to add a third as we go forward. If you believe that you are too old to start a business, you are right. If you believe that you are not too old to start a business, you are right. Do you believe you're too old to start a business, especially a home-based business? You know the answer. Whatever answer you say, the answer is right. And Lucille used her age to her advantage in growing your business. If you are over 60, okay, which the 3 of us are, how can you use your age as an unfair competitive advantage in your business?
How old is too old to start a business? The answer may surprise you. Yes, Mark Zuckerberg started Facebook at 19, but Charles Flint launched IBM at 61. While Hollywood may love the story of the college kid who starts a billion-dollar business out of his dorm room, that's only one story. For many, life as an entrepreneur begins much later. Consider. Legendary wedding dress designer Vera Wang didn't start designing clothes until she was 39. Home decorating goddess and business czar Martha Stewart didn't get into home decorating until she was 35. And San Francisco-based angel investor and founder of business incubator 500 Startups, Dave McClure, didn't invest in a single startup until he was 40. That's all according to a pair of infographics embedded below, created by information designer Anna Vital at startup organization Funders and Founders. When it comes to launching a business, what a person may lack in youthful energy comes back multiplied in experience. Reid Hoffman started the ultra-popular career networking site LinkedIn when he was 36. Sam Walton started Walmart when he was 44. And Joseph Campbell started Campbell's Soup when he was 52. Have a look at the 2 infographics below. Be inspired and stop counting the gray hairs on your head.
And we'll talk about that in a minute. But I believe each of us has a skill set that the over 60 age bracket demographic, who, by the way, probably most of them, not most of them, some of them cannot afford to retire on what the money they've got left in their account, and also with the market being down and the interest rates being so low. I think to me, I believe being at the age we are is an unfair competitive advantage over our younger people. And gentlemen,
Maybe for the first time in history.
yeah, and gentlemen, that is my twin for this week about Lucille Green.
Lucille Green. So there you go. Comment, Dick?
Well, just to remember what Ronald Reagan said when he was debating, I guess it was Mondale. He said, I won't use your age against you. People were talking about how old Reagan was and Mondale.
You already are the oldest president in history, and some of your staff say you were tired after your most recent encounter with Mr. Mondale. I recall yet that President Kennedy had to go for days on end with very little sleep during the Cuba Missile Crisis. Is there any doubt in your mind that you would be able to function in such circumstances?
Not at all, Mr. Truitt, and I want you to know that also I will not make age an issue of this campaign. I am not going to exploit for political purposes my opponent's youth and inexperience.
So,
That's right.
yeah, so I won't hold that. I won't use hold it against you, your age. So, I started a business at 75, I guess, or 74, something like that. And I agree with you. I think it's not how old you are, it's how old you think or how young you think. I think it's really is more of a frame of mind, and obviously that you have physical disabilities and all. We all have them, but not to the degree that they're debilitating any of these, not yet. So yeah, I agree. You know, you start a business if you feel like it and you have the energy, do it. And as far as my age, I think it helps because I think people, well, at least the people I in the meetup groups and chamber conversation, they kind of respect your age a little bit, you know. And again, you're not coming on. You see some of these young guys coming on full of, you know what, and they just charge ahead. And where someone with a little bit more experience handles it much differently, and it doesn't come out selling right out of the gun. So yeah, I think my age has helped me.
There you go.
To be honest with you. So.
You know, my business partner Anton always said it's always good to have a little gray on the board. You know, on the board of a company.
Right.
The little seasoned individual help young ones not fall in a lot of pitfalls. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I had a personal experience with home care this past fall when I went back. Had to deal with the 92-year-old lady who, and you were absolutely right, Frank, did not want to leave her home and didn't even want anybody coming into her home. She said, I don't need it. I still backwards to this. And we had a long discussion. And we looked at facilities and all and realized that would kill her in 3 months. So, you know, we ended up having someone come in and it's working out very good so far. But it's a hard, you know, that's one of the hardest things you deal with is going to someone and say, okay, you know, you're too old, we're going to put you out to pasture, or you can't be left alone and all, and getting them to go along. That's a very, very emotional, and it wasn't my relative, it was my wife's. And I felt very bad, you know, because I obviously known her all my life, and I just felt bad, but it's a tough situation, and a good person like you just talked about that could deal with that, and her age probably absolutely did help her. That with the empathy of knowing what they're going through is important. So it's something that most everybody deals with it sometimes when the parents start going out. And it's funny, I said to my daughter, I said, when I get to that age, if I could just shoot me, don't put me in one of those places, just shoot me. I don't want to live like that. And I related to what it was about. That's not easy.
No, it's again, like I said, I was involved with the long-term care for a while, as you know, and I could sell as many long-term care policies per hour as I could write at a nursing home.
Right.
But it was too late.
Yeah.
You have to buy it before you need it, because once you need it, you can't buy it.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
You know, and it's amazing how many people I would talk to, and they say, well, no, I got my daughter. And the daughter would say, no, you don't. No, you don't.
Yeah.
I'm moving. I'm moving. I'm not going to be here. That kind of thing. So anyway,
we got one of those, my wife and I, 20 years ago, and
good for you. Excellent.
And no one wants to talk about that. I think that's the hardest sell than life insurance. It was harder to me because I said to the agent, and it took her 6 months to get me to sign on. I said, with my luck, I'm going to sign this and I'll die of a heart attack and I'll waste all this money. So it's harder to sell than life insurance, I think. Yeah,
it's a tougher sell, and again, just because we're going to, and I remember I was doing a lot of networking with, my nursing home is different than a senior living facility.
Right.
Yeah, different. Assisted living and nursing home, two different things.
Right.
Assisted, a lot of them, and many times, because I'd go in and I always knew the director, and I would go in and he says, oh, I got to meet with this family. And I said, why? She said, her money just ran out.
Yeah.
And I said, so what are you going to do? I said, I just called the family in. I says, what are their options? Options is to either send it to a Medi-Cal facility, or turn the couch into a bed because they can't stay here.
Right.
And it sounded cold, but it was that cold.
Yeah.
It's a for-profit organization, these assisted living facilities, and they would have to say goodbye.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that was it. But congratulations to you and your wife for getting that involved.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Well, and Dick, do you have some entrepreneurial stuff for us?
Yeah, I do. And, kind of goes along a little bit what you were talking about, Peter. And, it just looking at the state of business in the United States now, it's just quite a bit of turmoil and change going on. Apple, for the first time in 40 years, sales went down. They didn't grow. Google split into three companies, and I guess their umbrella company is Alphabet. They're now larger market cap than Apple, so they're the most richest company in the world. Xerox is splitting into 2 or 3 different companies. CVS is splitting into 2 or 3 different companies. All the layoffs you talked about and all the things go on. And I know a few weeks ago we talked a little bit about that, but I got to thinking, how does that affect me? And how does that affect, say, people in the Valley that have their own businesses or small companies? And it's a time like this, your company and you need to be a good leader. You have to have good leadership skills. And I got to thinking, what makes a good leader? What makes someone be a good person? And in my case, I have to lead myself. So, I still look at it. And one of the things is you have to have a clear vision of where you want to take your business and be able to indicate where you want to go to your employees, to your business partners, and even your clients. And so I think the vision is a crucial thing. Then you need the courage to execute that vision, because along the way you're gonna fail, you're gonna have missteps, business is gonna go down and all, but you have to have the courage to go through your failures and through your downtime and keep that vision in sight and make sure no one takes their eye off the business model. And then one of the more important things is integrity. The people that you deal with, again, be it your employees, be it your clients, be it suppliers or whatever, you have to be honest with them, and you have to be, they have to trust what you're saying, and that you'll do what you're saying, and you mean what you say, and you do what you say. And I live that. I try to be honest. I had a potential associate for Legal Shield sit there and say, "Okay, sign me up," and I said, "No. I can't today." He said, "Why?" I said, "You're not ready." And he said, "What do you mean?" I said, you need to prepare to do this, and I want you to launch your business properly. When you're ready, we'll sign up." And a week later, we signed up because I helped him, get ready to do that and be prepared to start his business. Okay. So integrity is just don't try to sell somebody something just because you're going to make a commission off it. Do it because it's good for them as well as yourself. Take the time to find out why they would need your service. That integrity to me is one of the most important things in life. Then you have to have the humility to realize you made mistakes, and admit to your mistakes, take inputs from people. Frank and I argue a lot about different things, but, I appreciate the inputs you give me, and I use them. And I think, Peter, obviously, we communicate a lot. And I think you have to have that humility to say, okay, I don't know what I don't know, so someone can help me. Okay. Then you got to focus on the strengths of yourself or your employees if you have them, and drive your business to work through your strengths. Because if you're not, just say you're shy and you don't like to deal with people, well, don't start a business going where you have to go to meetups and chamber things, because you're going to fail. So recognize what your individual strengths are and what they aren't. And if you have employees, see what they are and drive your business that way. And then work on your weak areas as you're going along. I think positive reinforcement is crucial when you're dealing with employees. You can't constantly beat them like a dog. You got to once in a while pat them on the head and say, "Hey, good dog." And I think that means a lot to employees. And it also allows you to address the areas of improvement, because they realize it's a balanced approach. It's, you're telling them, "Hey, here's a great job here, do this, but could you do this a little bit better? Let's work on that." So I think with positive reinforcement. And the last area is the role model. You hear so often athletes, they're not role models, and kids shouldn't follow their way and all, but whether they're reluctant to be it or not, they are. And whether you don't want to be a role model as a manager or leader, you don't have a choice. You have to. You have to set the standards for your business, and also with the people you're dealing with. When I was working, and I had quite a few managers reporting to me, the one thing I would absolutely try to instill in their brains was, when you're talking to a group of people, they're going to listen to what you say. You say, here's what I want you to do, and I want you to do it this way, and here's how to do it. Okay, Then when you get through talking, they're going to watch what you do. And if you do it the opposite way, they're going to say, well, that must be the most important thing. So they're going to do what you do. Okay. So I think it's important that when you're dealing with employees or clients or whatever, you set the role model and say, here's how I'm going to do it. And, I'm training my new associates. I say, here's how I do it. And I do it the way I say I'm going to do it. And one of the keys to network marketing is be able to duplicate what you did 100 times, so type thing. So when you're talking to people, remember what you say is important, but what you do is more important. And be aware of that. And I think you go a long way in gaining the respect of people you're trying to do business with or lead. And finally, some people say great leaders are born to be leaders. And some people say you can teach people to be leaders. I say it's both. I think most all of us are born with a gene that gives us the leadership qualities. Some of us take it further by going through the training, going through the learning, and addressing and try to be better leaders than they are. So I think we all could be leaders. Not all of us can be great leaders. So I think it's if you're in business, you're a leader of something. Make sure you learn and you try to be a great leader, not just a leader. So that's my my section for today.
Frank, you were gonna. That's good, Dick. Frank, you brought up a point about introverts.
Yeah. I'm doing my my next lesson for my Canadian and Australian clients, which is that one company, Monday night. And I switched days of the week because of the time zone and a day difference in Australia. And for those that may not remember, it's a home-based network marketing business. And like every network marketing, I don't know about yours, Dick, but you always start with family, friends, and acquaintances, people that you can get business meetings, that type of thing. And so mine is called When You Run Out of Those, Now What? And so the program I'm teaching is about what do you do when you don't have, when you run out of all the people you know, okay? And so it's it's evolving. It's interesting because I think I know what the next lesson is going to be, but then I do a lot of one-on-ones with each of my clients, and I learn what they really need. And so and one of them relates what you just talked about, Dick. I got a 3-part lesson I'm giving Monday night. First one is how to talk to anyone, anywhere. And there are things that work and things that don't work. And without being a Ned Ryerson. The second thing is many of my clients think they're introverts and they say that's hurting my business. And so my next topic is the 17 advantages introverts have over extroverts in growing their home-based business. Being an introvert is an advantage, 17 different advantages. And the last topic is the other 17 traits leaders have to grow their home-based business. And Dick mentioned some of them in his talk. So I've identified 17 traits that go above and beyond what typical leadership is, because unlike being a VP of a sales, like I was and like Dick was, of a company, these people are not your employees. They're entrepreneurs. And anyway, so yeah, those are 3 topics, and it's all geared to a home-based network marketing business. Yeah, that's it.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
More to come on that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else, guys? Otherwise, I think it's in the can.
Yes.
All right. I'll stop recording. Hang on.
Oh, good night, Dick.
Good night, Dick.
Geez, I almost forgot, didn't I? Say good night, Dick.
Good night, Dick.
All right.